The stars looked different that morning. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison noticed it first when he walked into the NORAD command center in Colorado. The computer screens showed strange readings from deep space. Something big was coming toward. Jake had been watching the skies for 15 years. He knew what normal looked like. This was not normal. The energy readings were massive, bigger than anything he had ever seen. He called his team over to look at the data. "What do you think this is?" asked Sergeant Lisa Brooks, pointing at the screen. The readings showed objects moving faster than any human ship could travel. There were many of them, hundreds, maybe thousands. Jake felt his stomach drop. He had always known this day might come. The day when Earth would meet visitors from another world. But he had hoped they would be friendly. "Get me the Pentagon," Jake told his communications officer. "Right now." 3,000 miles away, President Kate Sullivan was having her morning coffee when her phone rang. The caller ID showed it was the Secretary of Defense. She answered immediately. "Madame President, we have a situation," came the voice of General Pete Williams. "NORAD has detected what appears to be a large fleet of unknown objects approaching our solar system. They're moving at impossible speeds." Kate set down her coffee cup. She had been briefed about this possibility during her first week in office. There were secret plans, hidden weapons, things the public didn't know about. She had hoped she would never need to use them. "How long do we have?" she asked. "At their current speed, maybe 6 hours until they reach Earth's orbit," the general replied. Kate closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them and became the leader the world needed her to be. "Activate Protocol 7, she said. "Bring everyone in. It's time." In space, far beyond the orbit of Pluto, the Zephyrian Imperial fleet moved through the darkness like a school of metal fish. Their ships were huge, each one the size of a city. The largest ship, called the Dominions. Wrath was where Admiral Krickstall stood looking at the small blue planet ahead. Krickstall was not like humans. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. His people had conquered 47 worlds. They had destroyed civilizations that had lived for thousands of years. To him, conquering Earth would be just another day at work. "Report," he said to his lieutenant, Zek Vio. "The planet shows signs of primitive technology, Admiral. Nuclear power, basic electronics, simple chemical rockets. They pose no threat to us." Krickstall nodded. It was always the same. The young races thought they were advanced when they learned to split atoms. They had no idea what real power looked like. "Begin the standard approach," he ordered. "Send the surrender demand. Give them 6 of their hours to respond." On Earth, the message arrived at every radio telescope, every satellite dish, every communication system on the planet. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking broken English. "People of Earth, you are now property of Zephyrian Empire. Surrender all weapons. Surrender all leaders. Surrender all resistance. You have 6 hours. After 6 hours, we take planet by force. Resistance will mean death for all." The message played on every television channel, every radio station, every phone in the world. People stopped what they were doing and stared at their screens. Some screamed. Some cried. Some just sat in shock. But in secret places around the world, other people were not surprised. They had been waiting for this day for 50 years. Dr. Alex Carter was one of them. He worked at the Deep Space Observatory in California, but that was just his cover job. His real work was much more important. When the alien message ended, he picked up a special phone that connected directly to the Pentagon. "This is Carter," he said. "Confirm alien contact." "Repeat, confirm alien contact. Beginning Phase 1 protocols." Around the world, similar calls were being made. In underground bunkers, in hidden laboratories, in secret military bases, people were waking up systems that had been sleeping for decades. Captain Paul Anderson was on his ship when the call came. To anyone watching, his ship looked like a normal research vessel. It was not. The USS Retribution was one of 12 ships that officially did not exist. It had weapons that could destroy entire cities, powered by technology that most humans thought was impossible. All hands to battle stations. Paul announced over the ship's intercom, "This is not a drill." Repeat, "This is not a drill." Dr. Maya Patel was in her laboratory under the Pentagon when her computer screen lit up with a single word, "Activate." She had been waiting 30 years to see that word. She and her team had built weapons that could crack planets in half. Today, they would find out if they worked. "Begin startup sequence," she told her assistant, Dr. Ryan Mitchell. Full power to all systems. Around the world, the public was panicking. News reporters talked about the end of the world. Religious leaders called for prayer. Politicians made speeches about staying calm. But in the secret places, the real defenders of Earth were getting ready for war. The Zephyrian fleet continued its approach. Admiral Crickstall watched the blue planet grow larger on his screens. He had done this so many times before. First came the fear, then the hopeless resistance, then the surrender. It was always the same dot. He had no idea that this time would be different. He had no idea that the humans had been preparing for this moment since. The first radio signal from space had been detected in 1960. He had no idea that Earth's greatest weakness was also its greatest strength. The humans looked primitive because they wanted to look primitive. While other species had spread across the galaxy, building cities on 1,000 worlds, humans had stayed on one planet and made it into a fortress. They had spent 50 years turning their world into a weapon. And now, in just a few hours, Admiral Crickstall would learn what happens when you threaten the most dangerous species in the galaxy, that the countdown had begun. The secret began to unfold as the alien fleet crossed Jupiter's orbit. All around the world, things that looked normal started to change into something else. On the moon, what everyone thought were simple mining stations began to open up. Huge. Metal doors slid apart, revealing weapons that pointed toward space. Colonel Amy Foster stood in the control room of Luna Base Alpha, watching her screens come alive with power readings. "All lunar defense grids are online," she reported to Earth. "Particle accelerators are charged and ready." For 20 years, Amy had told people she was a mining engineer. That was a lie. She was a weapons officer, and the mines on the moon were really giant guns that could shoot beams of pure energy across millions of miles back on Earth. Admiral Steve Parker stood on the bridge of a ship that was not supposed to exist. The USS Defiance looked like an old aircraft carrier from the outside. Inside, it was something much more deadly. Hidden beneath the normal flight deck were weapons that used the power of stars to destroy enemies. "Contact all Shadow Fleet vessels," Steve ordered his communications officer. "Begin reveal protocol." Around the world's oceans, 12 ships that looked like normal cargo vessels began to change. Their hulls opened up, showing the real ships inside. Each one was armed with weapons that could punch holes through planets. Dr. Tony Rodriguez was deep underground in a bunker beneath Nevada. For 30 years, he had been the director of something called the Earthquake Research Center. The public thought he studied how the ground shook. Really, he built machines that could make the ground shake. "Seismic weapons are online," he reported. "We can make earthquakes anywhere on Earth if the aliens try to land." But the biggest secret was in space itself. Captain Ben Lewis floated in the command center of the space station that everyone called the International Space Station. That was another lie. The real station was 10 times bigger than what people could see from Earth. It was hidden by technology. That bent light around it. All stealth systems are working, Ben reported. The aliens still can't see us. The space station was not alone. There were hundreds of hidden bases throughout the solar system. On Mars, what looked like a small research colony was really a weapons factory that had been building war machines for 40 years. In the asteroid belt, mining robots had been carving out huge chunks of rock and turning them into missiles. Dr. Jessica Martinez sat in a command center that did not officially exist. She was the director of Project Looking Glass, a program that used quantum physics to make weapons that could appear anywhere in space instantly. Quantum tunnel generators are stable, she reported. We can put weapons behind their fleet whenever we want. The aliens had no idea what they were flying into. Their sensors showed them a primitive world with simple technology. They could not see the thousands of hidden weapons pointed at them from every direction. Admiral Krickstahl stood on his command bridge, feeling confident. His fleet was the most powerful force in the galaxy. His ships had plasma shields that could stop any weapon. His guns could turn planets into dust. Begin final approach, he ordered. Prepare to demonstrate our power. Destroy one of their cities. To show them we are serious. But as his fleet moved closer to Earth, something strange happened. Energy readings began to spike all around the solar system. His science officer, Velthok, looked at the readings with confusion. Admiral, I am detecting massive power signatures throughout this system, Velthok reported. The energy levels are impossible. Krickstahl looked at the readings. They showed power sources bigger than anything his people had ever built. But that could not be right. These humans were supposed to be primitive. Check your instruments, he ordered. There must be an error. On Earth, President Kate Sullivan stood in a command center buried 2 miles under the Rocky Mountains. Around her, dozens of screens showed the positions of weapons that the public had never heard of. General Pete Williams stood beside her, holding a communication device that could reach every human weapon in the solar system. All stations report ready, Madame President, Pete said. We have over 3,000 weapon systems online and targeted on the alien fleet. Kate nodded. The secret was about to come out. For 50 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. While the world thought they were exploring space and studying science, the real work had been building the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Dr. Carter, what is the status of the deep space sensors? Kate asked. Dr. Alex Carter looked up from his control panel. All stealth observation posts are active, Madame President. We have eyes on every alien ship. They cannot move without us knowing. The observation posts were another secret. What looked like space junk and dead satellites were really spy systems that could watch everything happening in space. The aliens thought they were invisible in the darkness between planets. They were wrong. Dr. Maya Patel worked at her control station, watching numbers that would have scared most people. She was in charge of humanity's most powerful weapons, machines that worked by tearing holes in space itself. Dimensional disruptors are charged and ready, she reported. We can make their ships disappear from reality if needed. Captain Paul Anderson floated in the zero-gravity command center of his ship. The Retribution was now showing its true form. The fake hull had folded away, revealing a sleek war machine that looked like it came from a science fiction movie. All Shadow Fleet vessels are in position, Paul reported. We have them surrounded. The aliens still could not see the human ships. Earth's stealth technology was so advanced that the ships were invisible to every sensor the aliens had. The Zephyrian fleet was flying blind into a trap. Dr. Ryan Mitchell monitored the antimatter containment systems. For decades, humans had been collecting antimatter, the most powerful explosive in the universe. They had enough stored to blow up the entire alien fleet 100 times over. Antimatter weapons are stable and ready, Ryan reported. Containment. Fields are holding. Commander Rachel Stone coordinated the satellite defense network. What looked like communication satellites were really weapons platforms. Each one contained a fusion reactor and a laser that could cut through the strongest alien armor. All orbital platforms report ready to fire, Rachel said. We have clear shots on every alien vessel. As the alien fleet moved into Earth's orbital space, they had no idea they were surrounded by the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. They thought they were attacking a helpless world. Instead, they were flying into the most deadly trap ever built. Admiral Krixtal gave the order he had given many times before on many worlds. Begin planetary bombardment. Show them the price of resistance. But this time, the price would be paid. By someone else. This time, the hunters had become the hunted. And the humans were about to show the galaxy what real power looked like. The war began at exactly 3:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Admiral Krixtal gave the order to fire on Earth's largest cities. His weapons officer, Graxon, targeted the weapons at New York, London, and Tokyo. The Zephyrian plasma cannons charged, up ready to turn millions of humans into dust. But the humans fired first. Dr. Jessica Martinez pressed a single button in her underground command center. In that instant, every human weapon in the solar system received the same signal at the same time. The quantum communication network allowed all of Earth's defenses to act as one giant weapon. The first shots came from the moon. Colonel Amy Foster watched her screens as the lunar particle accelerators fired beams of pure energy. The beams moved at the speed of light, crossing the distance to the alien fleet in seconds. Admiral Krixtal saw the lights coming toward his ships. He was not worried. His plasma shields could stop any weapon these primitive humans could build. He was wrong. The particle beams hit the first line of Zephyrian ships and cut right through their shields like they were made of paper. The energy was so intense that it did not just destroy the ships. It broke them apart at the level of atoms. 50 Zephyrian warships simply vanished, turning into clouds of glowing gas. Impossible. Krixtal shouted. Nothing can penetrate our shields. But more lights were coming. From every direction. Captain Paul Anderson smiled as his ship appeared behind the alien fleet. The USS Retribution had used its quantum tunnel drive to travel instantly from one place to another. Now it was pointing its main gun at the alien command ship. Fire antimatter torpedo, Paul ordered. The torpedo looked like a small silver ball, but inside it was the most dangerous substance in the universe. When it hit the alien ship, matter and antimatter touched each other and exploded with the power of a nuclear bomb. The explosion was so bright that it could be seen from Earth. One of the largest alien ships was gone in a flash of white light. All around the solar system, humanity's hidden weapons began to fire. Dr. Tony Rodriguez activated the orbital bombardment system. Satellites that had pretended to be communication devices revealed their true purpose. Each one was a fusion reactor connected to a laser cannon. Hundreds of laser beams shot down from Earth's orbit, cutting alien ships in half. The beams were so hot that they turned metal into gas instantly. Zephyrian ships that had conquered worlds across the galaxy were sliced apart like vegetables. On Mars, the hidden weapons factories opened their doors. Giant rail guns that had been built into the surface of the planet began firing metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The projectiles moved so fast that when they hit alien ships, they punched holes completely through them. Admiral Krixtal watched his fleet disappear around him. In just 10 seconds, he had lost over 300 ships. His officers were screaming reports at him, but none of it made sense. Admiral, they have weapons everywhere. Our shields are useless. They can appear anywhere they want. Krixtal tried to give orders, but there was no time. The humans were not fighting like any species he had ever seen. Most civilizations built big fleets and fought battles that lasted for days. The humans had turned their entire solar system into one massive weapon. Dr. Maya Patel activated her most powerful creation. The dimensional disruptor did not just destroy ships. It made them cease to exist. When she fired it at a group of alien vessels, they did not explode. They simply were not there anymore, as if they had never existed at all. Captain Ben Lewis coordinated the space station's weapons. What had looked like a small research station revealed its true size. The hidden sections unfolded like a flower blooming, showing massive guns that pointed in every direction. All batteries, fire at will, Ben ordered. The space station's weapons were powered by a miniature black hole that the humans had created and contained. The energy from the black hole was focused into beams that could destroy entire planets. When these beams hit the alien ships, they did not just kill them. They erased them from reality. Commander Rachel Stone watched her orbital platforms work perfectly. Each platform was really a small space station with its own fusion reactor. They could fire continuously without ever running out of power. The laser beams came down like rain, and every drop was death for the aliens. In the asteroid belt, the mining robots revealed their true purpose. They had not been mining rocks. They had been building missiles. Thousands of them. Each missile was the size of a building and moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. The missiles swarmed around the alien fleet like angry bees. When they hit, they exploded with nuclear fire. Alien ships that had seemed huge and powerful were blown apart like toys. Admiral Kriegstall realized that his entire fleet was going to die. In 20 seconds, he had lost over half his ships. The humans had weapons he had never imagined. They could attack from any direction, appear anywhere, and their weapons could destroy anything. All ships retreat. He screamed into his communicator. Emergency hyperspace jump. But the humans had thought of that too. Dr. Alex Carter activated the hyperspace inhibitors. Hidden devices throughout the solar system created a field that made it impossible for ships to enter hyperspace. The aliens were trapped. Captain Lisa Brooks commanded one of the hidden submarine spacecraft. Her ship could move through space like a submarine moved through water, invisible and deadly. She fired torpedoes that could track their targets across millions of miles. Direct hit on enemy flagship, she reported. Target is severely damaged. Admiral Kriegstall felt his ship shake as the human torpedo exploded against his hull. Alarms were going off everywhere. His bridge was filled with smoke, and sparks flew from damaged computers. Damage report, he shouted. Plasma conduits are ruptured. Shield generators are offline. Main engines are failing. His damage control officer reported. Around him, the last of his fleet was disappearing. The humans had weapons that worked in ways his science could not explain. They could make his ships vanish, slice them in half, blow them up, or simply make them stop existing. Dr. Ryan Mitchell fired the final weapon. It was called the Solar Lance, and it focused the power of the sun itself into a single beam. When the beam fired, it was like a piece of the sun had broken off and flew across space. The beam hit the center of the alien formation and destroyed 50 ships at once. The explosion was so big that it lit up the entire solar system like day. 31. Seconds after the battle began, it was over. Admiral Kriegstall looked around at empty space where his mighty fleet had been. Out of 2,000 ships, only his damaged flagship and a few dozen escort vessels remained. The rest were gone, destroyed by weapons that should not have been possible. On Earth, President Kate Sullivan watched the battle end on her screens. Around her, military officers cheered and hugged each other. They had done the impossible. They had defeated the most powerful fleet in the galaxy in less than half a minute. Send a message to any surviving alien ships, Kate ordered. Tell them to leave our solar system and never come back. Tell them that Earth is protected. Admiral Krickstahl received the message as his damaged ship limped away from Earth. He would spend the rest of his life trying to understand what had happened. How had these primitive humans built weapons that could destroy his entire fleet in seconds? He would never know the truth. That for 50 years, while the galaxy thought humans were weak and divided, they had really been building the most advanced military force in the universe. The humans had let everyone think they were helpless, and that had been their greatest weapon of all. The news traveled across the galaxy faster than light itself. On the planet Xerion Prime, home to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Vel Thera sat in her office reading the impossible report. The Zephyrian Imperial fleet was gone. All of it. Destroyed. In 31 seconds by a species that most of the galaxy thought was still learning to use Fire.V Elithera, had been a diplomat for 300 years. She had seen wars that lasted decades, battles that destroyed entire star systems, and weapons that could crack moons in half. But she had never seen anything like this. This cannot be accurate, she said to her aide, a young Altarian named Kexdal. No species can destroy 2,000 warships in half a minute. Kexdal showed her the recordings that had been sent by the few surviving Zephyrian ships. The images showed human weapons that seemed to break the laws of physics. Ships that appeared out of nowhere, beams that cut through the strongest armor like it was nothing, and explosions that turned matter into pure energy. The data has been verified by 3 independent sources, Kexdal said. The humans really did this. Vel Thera stared at the images. For 1,000 years, the Zephyrians had been the most feared military force in the galaxy. They had conquered 47 worlds and enslaved billions of people. Their plasma shields were supposed to be unbreakable. Their weapons were supposed to be unstoppable, and the humans had wiped them out like they were nothing. On Earth, President Kate Sullivan stood before cameras broadcasting to the entire world. It was time to tell humanity the truth about what their planet really was. My fellow humans, she began, for 50 years, your governments have been keeping a secret from you. Today, that secret saved all of our lives. She took a deep breath and continued. Since 1960, when we first detected signals from intelligent alien life, we have been preparing for this day. While you thought we were exploring space and studying science, we were really building weapons. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing and listened. They learned that the moon bases were really weapons platforms. They learned that the International Space Station was really a fortress. They learned that their planet was the most heavily armed world in the galaxy. The mining operations on Mars are really weapons factories, President Sullivan explained. The asteroid belt mining programs are really missile construction sites. Even the satellites you use for television and internet are really parts of our defense system. Dr. Alex Carter stood beside the president, ready to answer questions from the press. For 30 years, he had told people he was an astronomer. Today, he could finally tell them what he really did. Every radio telescope on Earth is also a weapons targeting system, he explained. We can track any object in space and hit it with precision from millions of miles away. The revelation changed everything. Citizens who had complained about government spending on space programs now realized that money had been spent on weapons that saved their lives. Students who had studied physics in school learned that their textbooks had been missing entire chapters about military applications. Dr. Maya Patel appeared on television to explain how the weapons worked. She used simple words so everyone could understand. We learned to use the basic forces of the universe as weapons, she said. Gravity, magnetism, nuclear force, and quantum mechanics. We took the science that powers stars and put it into machines that can destroy entire fleets. Around the world, Scientists who had worked on secret projects for decades could finally talk about their work. Dr. Tony Rodriguez revealed that his earthquake research had really been about building machines that could shake planets apart. Captain Paul Anderson showed the world what his ship really looked like. When it was not disguised as a cargo vessel, the public reaction was mixed. Some people were angry that they had been lied to for so long. Others were grateful that the secret weapons had saved them from invasion. Most were simply amazed that their species had built such incredible technology. But the biggest changes were happening in space. Admiral Steve Parker stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance as it traveled to the edge of the solar system. His mission was to make sure the surviving alien ships really left and never came back. Signal from the alien flagship, his communications officer reported. They want to talk. On the screen, Admiral Krickstahl appeared. His ship was damaged and limping away from Earth. His uniform was torn, and his face showed the shock of someone who had seen the impossible. "Human Commander," Krickstahl said, "I must know. How did you build such weapons? Your species is supposed to be primitive." Steve smiled. "We let you think we were primitive. While you were busy conquering other worlds, we stayed home and learned to turn our planet into a fortress. You spread your power across the galaxy. We focused all our power on defending one world." Krickstahl nodded slowly. He understood now. The humans had been playing a different game than everyone else. While other species tried to build big empires, humans had built the ultimate weapon. "What will you do now?" Krickstahl asked. "Will you use your weapons to conquer others like we did?" "No," Steve replied. "We will use them to make sure no one else gets conquered. The age of galactic bullies is over." As news of the battle spread, the entire galaxy began to change. On worlds that had been conquered by the Zephyrians, people rose up in rebellion. With the Imperial fleet gone, there was no one to stop them from fighting for their freedom. On the planet Nexus 7, the resistance leader Zaltar received the news with joy. His people had been slaves for 20 years, forced to mine crystals for the Zephyrian war machine. Now they could fight back. "The humans have given us a chance," he told his followers. "The oppressors are weak. Now we can be free." Similar uprisings happened on dozens of worlds. The Zephyrian Empire, which had seemed unstoppable just days before, began to collapse as subject species declared their independence. Other aggressive species across the galaxy received the message loud and clear. The Corthic Dominion, which had been planning to attack the peaceful vegan colonies, suddenly canceled their invasion plans. The Brock-Tor war fleets, which had been massing for an assault on the Trade Federation, quietly returned to their home. Worlds. No one wanted to fight the humans. No one wanted to find out what other weapons they might have. Ambassador Velthara called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss what the human victory meant for the galaxy. "We must reassess everything we thought we knew about galactic politics," she announced to the assembly. "The humans have demonstrated military technology that is centuries ahead of our own. We must decide how to respond to this new reality." Some council members suggested forming an alliance against the humans. Others argued for immediately offering friendship and trade agreements. A few suggested sending gifts and tribute to keep the humans happy. But Dr. Lisa White, Earth's new ambassador to the Galactic Council, had a different message. She appeared on the Council's main screen, speaking from Earth. "The human species has no desire to conquer or rule others," she said. "We want to be friends with all peaceful civilizations. We want to trade, share knowledge, and explore the galaxy together." She paused, and her expression became serious. "But we will not tolerate bullies. Any species that attacks innocent worlds will find out why the Zephyrian fleet no longer exists." The message was clear. Earth was offering friendship to those who wanted peace, and promising destruction to those who chose War. Captain Gary Miller prepared to lead the first official human diplomatic mission to alien worlds. His ship, the USS Harmony, carried both ambassadors and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. The name might have been peaceful, but the message was clear. Humanity was now the galaxy's police force, whether they wanted to be or not. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human protection had begun. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was a completely different place. Captain Gary Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Harmony as it approached the planet Altair Prime. This was humanity's first official diplomatic mission to an alien world, and Gary knew that every species in the galaxy would be watching. The Harmony looked like a peaceful exploration ship, but Gary knew that appearances could be deceiving. Hidden within the hull were weapons that could turn the entire planet below into dust. The aliens knew this too, which was why they were being so polite. Incoming transmission from the planet, his communications officer reported. They're welcoming us with full honors. Gary smiled. 6 months ago, most alien species had never heard of humans. Now they were rolling out red carpets and offering their best hospitality. Fear was a powerful motivator. On Altair Prime, President Zexkala waited nervously in his palace. He had ruled his world for 50 years, but he had never been more nervous than he was today. The humans were coming, and everyone knew what humans could do to those who made them angry. "Are the gifts ready?" he asked his aide. "Yes, sir. Rare crystals, artwork, and offers of friendship treaties." Zexkala nodded. Every world in the galaxy was trying to get on humanity's good side. Trade offers, tribute, requests for protection. The messages poured in every day. Back on Earth, President Kate Sullivan sat in her office, reading reports from around the galaxy. The changes were incredible. Wars that had raged for decades had suddenly stopped. Aggressive species were backing down from conflicts. Peaceful worlds were asking for human protection. Ambassador Helen Clark knocked on the door and entered. She had been chosen to lead Earth's new Department of Galactic Relations, a job that did not exist 6 months ago. "The Vegan Republic is asking for a defense treaty," Helen reported. "They're offering to share their medical technology in exchange for protection from the Corthic Dominion." Kate nodded. This was the 5th request for protection this week. Half the galaxy wanted humanity to be their bodyguard. "What about the Brocktor situation?" Kate asked. "They've agreed to peace talks with the Trade Federation. Apparently, they don't want to risk making us angry by continuing their war." Kate sighed. She had never wanted Earth to become the galaxy's police force. But that seemed to be what was happening. Every time there was a conflict somewhere in space, both sides looked to see what the humans thought about it. Dr. Lisa White was busy in her new office at the United Nations building in New York. As Earth's chief alien relations specialist, she spent her days talking to dozens of different species. Some wanted to be friends, some wanted to trade. All of them wanted to make sure they stayed on humanity's good side. "The Regelian Council is offering to build us an embassy on their homeworld," her assistant reported. "They want to be the first species to have an official human presence." Lisa laughed. "That's the 3rd offer this week. Everyone wants to be humanity's best friend now." Meanwhile, the effects of Earth's victory were being felt in the darkest corners of space. On prison worlds throughout the former Zephyrian Empire, slaves were breaking free. Rebel movements that had been crushed for decades were rising again. Z Alaltar stood on the surface of Nexus 7, watching the last Zephyrian guards flee the planet. His people were free for the first time in 20 years, and it was all because of what the humans had done. "Send a message to Earth," he told his communications team. "Tell them that the people of Nexus 7 thank them for our freedom." Similar messages were arriving at Earth every day. Dozens of worlds that had been conquered by the Zephyrians were now free, and they all knew who to thank. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's new role. In a secret meeting on the planet Darkness Prime, the leaders of several aggressive species gathered to discuss the human problem. General Vraktor of the Korthic Dominion slammed his fist on the table. The humans have upset the natural order. The strong are supposed to rule the weak. Admiral Brixzal of the Predator Fleet nodded in agreement. They cannot be allowed to continue policing the galaxy. We must find a way to stop them. But the others at the meeting were not so sure. They had all seen the recordings of what happened to the Zephyrian fleet. None of them wanted to be the next example of human military power. Perhaps we should try diplomacy, suggested Governor Hex Moore of the Shadow Worlds. The humans claim they want peace. Maybe we can work with them. General. Fraktor sneered. Diplomacy is for the weak. The Zephyrians thought war was the answer too. Governor Hexmo replied quietly. Look what happened to them. The meeting ended without any decisions. None of the aggressive species wanted to be the first to test humanity's patience. On Earth, General Mark Johnson had been promoted to Director of Human Space Command. His job was to coordinate all of humanity's military forces across the solar system. It was a big responsibility, but Mark had been preparing for it his whole career. Status. Report, he asked his staff during their daily briefing. All outer system defense platforms are operational, reported Colonel Amy Foster. The Mars weapons factories are producing new equipment ahead of schedule, and the stealth fleet has completed its patrol of the local star systems. Mark nodded. Even though the immediate threat was over, humanity was not relaxing its guard. If anything, they were building even more weapons. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and Earth needed to be ready for anything. Captain Ben Lewis brought his ship back to Earth after a 3-month patrol mission. The space station that everyone still called the International Space Station was now revealed in its full glory. It was actually the size of a small city, with weapons that could be seen from the ground. Any problems during the patrol? Mark asked Ben during his debriefing. No, sir. 3 different species offered us gifts when we passed through their systems. The Andromedans want to build a monument to humanity on their homeworld. This was becoming normal. Everywhere human ships went, aliens offered tribute and gifts. Some species had even started building temples to honor the great protectors from Earth. Dr. Kevin White worked in his laboratory, studying captured Zephyrian technology. What he found confirmed what military strategists had suspected. Humanity's weapons were thousands of years more advanced than anything else in the galaxy. The Zephyrians were using plasma technology that we mastered 50 years ago, he reported to the Science Council. Their most advanced weapons are like stone tools compared to what we have now. This raised an important question. How had humanity advanced so quickly? The answer was simple but surprising. While other species had spread across many worlds, humans had stayed on one planet and focused all their energy on science and technology. Other civilizations had built big empires with many planets. Humans had built one planet that was more advanced than entire galactic empires. President Kate Sullivan received a special visitor that day. Admiral Krickstall, the former commander of the Zephyrian fleet, had asked for a meeting. He came alone, in a small ship with no weapons. Why have you come here? Kate asked him as they sat in the White House. Krickstall looked tired and defeated. I have spent 6 months trying to understand what happened. How did your species become so powerful? Without anyone noticing? Kate smiled. We learned from watching other species. We saw that empires always fall eventually. Spreading across many worlds makes you weak, not strong. So we stayed home and made ourselves stronger. But why? Krickstall asked. Why did you build such weapons if you did not plan to conquer others? Because we knew that someday someone like you would come, Kate replied. We built weapons to protect ourselves, not to attack others. Krickstall nodded slowly. My people have a saying, the wise warrior wins without fighting. I think I understand it now. As their meeting ended, Krixtal made a request that surprised everyone. I want to stay on Earth and study your ways. I want to learn how to build a civilization that protects instead of conquers. Kate agreed. The former admiral became Earth's first alien resident, helping to build bridges between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. Captain Lisa Brooks commanded one of the patrol ships that kept watch over Earth's solar system. Her job was to make sure that no hostile forces came close to Earth without permission. Contact approaching from the direction of Vida, her sensor officer reported. It's broadcasting a peaceful message, Lisa smiled. This happened several times a week. Now, ships from all over the galaxy came to Earth, hoping to establish diplomatic relations or trade agreements. Standard procedure, Lisa ordered. Escort them to the diplomatic station. The diplomatic station was another new addition to Earth's solar system. It orbited halfway between Earth and Mars, allowing aliens to visit without coming too close. To humanity's homeworld. Dr. Jessica Martinez had been promoted to head of the Quantum Weapons Division. Her job was to keep improving humanity's already incredible military technology. The new dimensional phase cannons are ready for testing, she reported to General Johnson. They can shoot through solid objects and hit targets on the other side. And the temporal displacement missiles? Johnson asked. Still in development, but promising. If they work, we can send missiles back in time to hit enemy ships before they even know we're there. These weapons sounded like magic, but they were based on real science that humanity had mastered, while other species